Hello music lovers, I'm Kayla Collingwood, a classical singer passionate about music education, no prior knowledge necessary. Today we're going to explore the evolution of Western art music, or what we know as classical music, through the ages. From medieval chants to the diverse sounds of the 21st century, every phase of music history is a reflection of the political landscape, society and its values and tastes, technology and a whole lot more. Before we get started, click the subscribe button and tap the bell icon. After the fall of the Roman Empire in 476 AD, the medieval era kicked off. We often lump both medieval and Renaissance music under a larger early music umbrella, as music of this time had some commonalities and music systems were not yet really codified, so no one was learning modern-day solfege or counterpoint or other music theory rules. Most of the surviving music is religious in nature, as the church was at the centre of European society, and when music was notated, it tended to be for religious purposes. There was, of course, secular music too. Picture the troubadours and other travelling musicians like you might have seen in movies or read about. If you want to really dive deep into this era, I have an Introduction to Classical Music online course available, and part 1 is all about early music. You'll get a full breakdown of the historical contexts, changes in society over a huge period of about 1,000 years, examples of composers and works, and a whole lot more. You can find the course on my website. Fast forward to the beginning of the Common Practice era, a time period roughly spanning from the late 17th century to the end of the 19th century. Part 2 of my course covers this era. This time period is characterized by a set of shared musical practices, conventions, and stylistic features that were widely accepted and followed by composers. This was the era where music theory, as we know it today, became a thing. The Common Practice era is often divided into 3 main periods: the Baroque, Classical, and Romantic. The Baroque era started in about 1600. Some of the musical features of this era include ornamentation, so adding little flourishes and details to the notes, contrast, use of terced dynamics, basso continuo, where one or more instruments build a harmonic foundation, so they layer the different music notes and how they go together, and counterpoint, which is a set of rules for how notes and musical phrases should interact with one another. You might recognize the names of some famous composers of the time, such as Bach, Handel, and Vivaldi. In the classical era, tastes were quite different than in the Baroque era. Instead of being highly decorated with lots of layers, music was marked by clarity, form, and balance. Musical forms and structures following set patterns became very popular, such as the sonata form, which almost follows a paragraph-like structure with introduction, body, and summary sections, which in this case are called the exposition, development, and recapitulation. Where the harpsichord was the dominant keyboard instrument of the Baroque era, the piano took over in the classical era. Note that this wasn't yet the modern pianoforte, but instead a precursor known as the fortepiano. Mozart was by far the most well-known composer of this time, but there were plenty of other great composers you should check out too. The 19th century ushered in the Romantic era, where passion and expression took centre stage. Romanticism wasn't just about love, but about all kinds of human emotions and the depths they can reach. Musical boundaries were expanding in this period as composers experimented with harmony, structure, and more. Due to the political uprisings and shifts of the time, such as revolutions, a lot of musical works of this time are also representative of a search for a national voice which could be expressed through music. Music was more about telling stories and less about meeting expectations. This was the era of the virtuoso musician, where the performer was often more of an attraction than the composer. People flocked to see performances by stars such as Franz Liszt. Some key composers of the Romantic era include people like Beethoven, who is considered a transitional figure between the classical and Romantic eras, Schubert, Tchaikovsky, and Wagner. The 20th century brought radical change, innovation, and experimentation. Conventions were shattered, music no longer had to be beautiful or to fit within what we call tonality or having a home key, and both societies and the arts were going through some important challenges and changes. Just like in the visual arts of this era, musical tastes followed movements such as avant-garde, neoclassicism, and a whole lot more. Composers drew inspiration from the past, from current events such as war, from their environments, and there was more focus on having something new to say through their music. Composers such as Stravinsky, John Cage, Schoenberg, Debussy, Rachmaninoff, and many more made unique contributions to the modern musical landscape. Finally, we arrive in the 21st century, an era of diversity and fusion. Due to globalization, Western art music has both found a place outside of Western society and has embraced musical qualities, features, stories, and inspirations from other cultures. Current events and challenges continue to be an inspiration, such as environmental and societal issues. Technology has also played a significant role in contemporary classical music, just like it has in other art forms and in society as a whole. The limits of musical boundaries in terms of composition and performance continue to be pushed, and there are now so many ways in which music can be heard and shared. As we're still relatively early in this century, it's hard to know exactly how classical music of this time will be remembered in the future. But on the screen you'll see a few composers you can check out. And there you have it, a whirlwind tour of the eras that shaped the development of classical music. Which era resonates with you the most? Let me know in the comments. If you would like to learn more about classical music, I offer classical music immersion classes and workshops. These are guided, interactive music history and listening experiences in Paris and online. You can also subscribe to my email newsletter to get a free classical music crash course guide. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow music enthusiasts, and subscribe for more musical adventures. Until next time, happy listening.